On point. On point.
Again, let's do it again.
On point. On point. On point. On point. God damn it. On point. On point. Yeah, man. On point.
So we have been, since we are all like black Africans, more or less like Austrian with African descent, I think integration is something that's very big part of our life in Austria. And we have one of our guys here that's an politician in future for the party called SUZ. So integration, like we are talking about, is very, very important. So like, well, what is the future goal for African people of African descent to integrate into Austria? So how could we be part of the whole society in Austria?
First of all, I want to thank you guys for inviting me. It's a pleasure. And you have introduced me, Andre Mugachi. Most people know me from Radio Africa, but now I'm also a politician, SOZ, Soziales Österreich für die Zukunft. So I'm really looking forward to it. So, what is the future for Austrians with African descent? You know, most of people here were born here, were raised here. Our parents came from Africa, most of them from Nigeria, to Austria. They just wanted to work. They just wanted to contribute. But we are, and they were satisfied with the small things, you know? They didn't need to be, I don't know, they didn't need high positions, you know? But we, the descendants, we're living here, we've been brought up here, we've been raised here. We want more because we are Austrians too. And we want to be on a table like everyone else. We want to be managers in banks, we want to be politicians. There are no limits anymore. And I think it's not only with Austrians with African descent, it's in general with migration background. You see Turkish people that feel like they are outcast in their own country. And what I'm saying and what SUZ is saying, we don't want that anymore. We don't want that anymore. We don't accept it anymore. So this is, I think, because we see all this empowerment movement, we see the what's the woman? This woman movement, not Me Too movement. We see all those minorities rising up, you know, against the oppressors, you know, and this is a huge opportunity. I'm telling you something now. Austria in the next decade will change a lot because we don't accept being oppressed anymore, you know, and this is beautiful, and that's why when Marte Bisman, the politician of the Spitzenkandidat of SZ, approached me, I never wanted to be a politician, to be honest, never, because I didn't want to represent anyone other than myself. But when she came to me and she talked about her vision for Austria, and you know that her vision entails diversity, entails you know, empowerment, inclusion, you know, I could identify with her vision, and I said, hey, I'm there, you want me? And now I'm a politician.
Not bad. That sounds very solid. But the thing is, like, we always have to be very technical, because when we talk about integration, obviously we're always talking about like we want to be part of the whole movement of any and every sector. But the question is, how can we get there? Because in all honesty, I think that a lot of black Austrians have tried so, but I think our main problem is that if one fails, there's a massive gap until the next one starts. So I think that's where we kind of like lose basically the timing of making effort into basically delving into the politics as well. Because now, let's say for instance, if you fail, who's the next to come up? So I think that we need like more or less like multiple people to do the same work that you're doing. But who do you have on your side in that sense? And what do you actually want to do, you know, to make sure that we can be part of the game?
First of all, I think the most important aspect is that we as a community, we are a small community,
Yeah, definitely.
but we first of all need to support each other. It doesn't matter what you want to do. If you want to be a football player, I'll support you. You know, if you want to be a entrepreneur, I'll support you. So we have to create a platform where we engage with each other, where we share information, so we can support. Hey, I know this electrician. I know this politician. You know. So even if someone fails, you know, there is a support system that backs it up. You know, there is at least a foundation. What we don't have right now, you know, because there's so much division within the Black community. Okay, you see that with Turkish people, the Turkish Austrians. You know, they are a huge community. Of course, we cannot compare, but they at least support each other. This huge community wouldn't be there, wouldn't make sense, or wouldn't make a difference if they wouldn't support each other. So we have to start from there, and if we see that it's not bad to fail, it's not that bad to fail. We encourage other Austrians with African descent to go the same way, you know, and to not give up, you know. And I think I'm not afraid to fail, you know. I'm not afraid to, because I don't have this concept of failing, because I learn. The only thing I can do is learn, you know. And so it will be a very interesting journey. And I think already me trying to be a politician shows the generation after us that, you know, we can try, you know, we should try, you know, be you know, confident enough to try. And yeah, and failing is not shouldn't back you down.
Exactly. But like in terms of integration as well, like how do you see yourself? Do you see yourself as an Austrian or as a Nigerian? That's always one of the tough questions.
Very difficult. Very difficult. But I will be frank with you guys.
Yeah.
Sometimes I don't know. You know, I don't know. Sometimes I'm like, I'm an Austrian. Sometimes I'm Nigerian. Sometimes I'm nowhere. You know what I mean? Because I was born here and raised here. Most times I had, you know, white Austrian friends. So I was able to communicate more even with white Austrians than I was with blacks, you know what I mean? Of course with Black Austrians as well, but you know, it was different because my whole life I was surrounded by white people. So I always felt a bit weird when I was with a lot of blacks, you know, because I wasn't used to it.
You had the reverse. Black people, I find it tough to, you know, integrate with white. You had it. You know,
yeah, I was born and raised. I was raised in the 22nd district. I never went out. You know, all my school friends were, you know, most of them were white. You know, I was a football player. All of them. I was always the only one.
Yeah.
I was always the only, but I was also the outcast. You know. So I wasn't really part of them. I wasn't really part of, you know, the Black community. And so it's difficult to say. I'm trying to negotiate my identity all the time. Sometimes I'm the Austrian, sometimes I'm the Nigerian, sometimes I am something in between, and that's fine for me, you know. I'm okay with it.
So, real quick question. What would you then say is, what does integration mean then? And why is it important?
Just let me say something before that, just one thing. But I think it's important to say I'm an Austrian. Okay, why? Why is it so important to say I'm an Austrian? Because always when you say I'm not an Austrian, you make yourself less in Austria, you know, because you're just a guest. You're not a full citizen or full citizen in this country. Your parents have paid taxes, have worked their whole life. You have contributed to the city, to this country, and you're not. So it's very important that for me to communicate I'm an Austrian, and I can, you know, contribute to this country, change this country, and say whatever I want to say, without someone saying go back where you come from. I don't accept that. That's why I always say, especially to white Austrians, I'm an Austrian. Where you from? Where exactly are you from? 22nd district. You know what I mean?
But that's funny.
And soon I'm Bezirksrat. You know what I mean? I'm in the Bezirksrat of the 22nd district. So it is a political decision, and to say that, you know, and we have to understand, all of us, you know, everything in our brain is a construct. Everything is a construct. Africa is a construct. Europe is a construct. Austrian state is a construct. It was just since the 1918, you know. So we can create our own reality, you know. So I'm an Austrian, you know, and I can be Austrian president, you know. And back to your question, what is integration? Integration is when people say, Rilvan, you are really good integrated. And I say, I never had this process of integration because I was always part of this country. Because what they say when they tell you, you're really good integrated, they say you are not really part of. You know what I mean? But I was always part of this society. Integration only applies to people who come to this country, who don't speak the language, who need to learn about customs and so on, So it doesn't apply to us. It applies to the people who come. And after that process happens inclusion. Inclusion is inclusion in all parts of society. Inclusion of minorities like us in all parts of society, doesn't matter where, because at the beginning often you are only, doing the small jobs like cleaning and so on. But after that, there needs to be a process that ensures that we have access to all areas of society. Mm-hmm. And that's why now you see a party like SOZ or other parties that push that. Because you see that in UK, that have already a history of that it happened a bit earlier. Mm-hmm. And now it's happening in Austria. Yeah. Exactly. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, you did. Because the thing is that I don't know if you guys have experienced it, but like when you speak German to certain Austrians, older ladies, and then they always say that, oh, you're very integrated, like, or like, oh, you speak German very good, etc., etc. And it's like, yeah, but I was born here. What do you expect? Obviously, you don't know, but like that statement, there's certain people like me. I'm a calm person. I'm like, okay, whatever. I ignore it. But some people, they find it really offensive. And as you just explained, that integration, the people that were born here, they don't. It doesn't apply to them, integration, because you were born here. Basically, so yeah, it's good that it
doesn't apply, and that is the thing about it. Always, like, Austria, you see that you're only an Austrian if you're a success story. You know what I mean? And you're not an Austrian if I commit a crime tomorrow, they will tell me this Nigerian. You know what I mean?
What I personally feel is that. We Africans, or let's say we Nigerians, we shouldn't be scared of our crimes. Like, if we commit a crime, wait. If we commit a crime, we should stand to it. If it's a part of our culture, like wait.
Activity is part of our culture.
There's some things you do as an African where you just think it's a normal thing. For example, because I've noticed it with the Turkish people. The Turkish people, they live their life in Austria like Turkish. They don't behave like Austrians. Let me say what I see. So they're in a community and they're together, and for them it's normal. If you go to a 10th district, you can't expect anyone there to behave like an Austrian. And I think we Africans or we Nigerians, we fail to, we fail to be ourselves, trying to be accepted by the Austrians. And I think that is one of the wrong ways they're going.
Wait, no, sorry. Okay, I'm so sorry. Which age? Like, which age are you talking about? Like our parents, the ones that came before?
The thing came from our parents, and they gave it down to us unconsciously, or I will say. We don't know that we also have that fear in us, how we present ourselves in public. now we have some of the let's say ruthless or some of the rugged guys of the youth, the one that can speak and can shout. These are the ones going out on the street, you know, causing kind of troubles and bringing, I won't say bad light, but fighting for us. So at that moment, I always see that at that moment we separate. One say it's good, one say it's bad. I think at that moment we need to stick together as a unity and say, okay, we're the one, this is how we do it, this is how we're going to go about it. And that's what I always see with the Turkish people. If there's any problem, they stick together and they fight together with
So now,
a certain
you have something to say?
Yeah, but I get what you're trying to say, but
I don't.
but I get what he's trying to say, but the big difference, like what we already said, is like
Okay.
our community is not as big, so we have
I do not agree to that.
No, it's not. It's getting bigger now that we're being like, oh, I've never seen that black person before. So now it's like nowadays we are coming out in full force, which is good.
Okay.
But the thing is like if you're comparing ourselves to the UK people, as a Nigerian, you can be in the Nigerian community although you live in the UK.
Yeah.
You can be in an enclave without ever going out. Same as the Turkish, they can be living in Austria without actually getting outside of Austria. They're in a Turkish community without getting outside in a Turkish community. So due to the fact that we are so minuscule in number and so minimal in number, obviously our parents will tell us like, go with the people that are actually making the rules and are people that are actually in power. So those are the Austrians. So that's why we are subliminally kind of like trying to be like Austrians, although we have our own culture.
Yes,
It's only now that we can be like, you know what, from Monday to Friday I'm with the Austrians, but on Saturdays, from Saturdays to Sunday, I'm only with the Africans. So it's kind of like you're making your own rules to be like, okay, I still need my own people to feel like I'm home, but during the week I'm doing what the Austrians are doing. Because like you said before, and you said that if anybody asks you, you will see that you're Austrian. If a white person asks me like, where are you from? I know what you want to hear, and I will tell them I'm Nigerian.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't mean I'm not Austrian. I live in Austria. I pay my tax in Austria. I've probably done the same thing as you have done, but I know what you want to hear, so I'm gonna tell you that I'm Nigerian. So all I want is I just want a double citizenship. That's all I want.
Yeah, that is something we stand for. Actually.
What would you actually say to what he said? Because he said that, you know, the Turkish people, they have their areas, you know, and we're Africans. It's more like we're spread. That's why I feel like we don't feel there are many Africans. Like keep in mind, there's no, because we're comparing to UK, there's no Peckham in
Which
Vienna.
Which is good though.
Is that good?
I think it's good. Do you know why? Because it forces us.
That's basically my question. Because my question is that good that certain nationalities in Vienna, they have like their district, like everyone knows this district is them, like this is their area. Is that good?
Let's take the first.
I think there are disadvantages and advantages to both, you know.
Okay.
And I don't think you can say it's good or bad, you know what I mean? I feel like I think it's both okay, you know. You have those Turkish communities, but those Turkish communities are here since like fourth generation, you know, and they are part of this country. They are part of this, you know. Without them, there wouldn't be this Vienna that we see now.
Yeah.
So yes, they are Turkish, but they're also Austrians. That is always what I want to say. Like they are Austrians as well, you know, because we always differentiate between those Austrians and then those Turkish. They don't behave, but because they have been here so long, there is already a mix. There's so much entanglement. You know, there's a lot of entanglement within even their behavior. They don't behave like the Turkish people in Turkey.
No.
They can't.
We like you. I'm sure none of us behaves like Nigerians in Nigeria, because they are. So we are not complete. No, united. So we're not. You know what I mean? We're not complete. So there are Austrian Turkish. You know what I mean? And we have to always say that, in my opinion.
So it'll be like
I think, and everyone, you know, everyone can say what they want to. If he says if he wants to say I'm a Nigerian, it's fine. You know, we decide ourselves how we identify, because how we identify depends on our history, our experiences. You know, I was born and raised here. I don't know anything more than Austria.
Yeah.
Why would I say I'm Nigerian? Just because he believes I'm Nigerian? No, I define myself. And we should empower ourselves to define ourselves, not be defined by others. You know what I mean? So that is something we have to work on. And I think it's also a political decision of me saying I'm Austrian. Because I want to tell him in his face, Austria is changing as well. And I'm part of this country. I'm part of the future. You know what I mean? So, yeah, it's everyone decides on themselves. Yeah.
And what do you feel? Do you think it makes sense for us to kind of like have our own space?
To have our own space?
Yeah.
I think it would help.
Yeah.
I think it would help in a sense, you know?
And
Not even like have our own space, but like, as he said, strengthen the community, know like, network, okay, this is where I get this is where I get that, etc., etc. So it's not really about having our space, but it's more like being aware. If I need this, I know where to go.
Yeah.
You know, if I need this, I know where to go.
We can have the Afrikaner take it for
Es gibt
ourselves.
sehr Afrikaner.
Yeah.
Zweiten, gell?
I'm saying we can take that one.
But it would definitely strengthen the community because
you're
you're always together. You know that your neighbor, you know he's a, you know that. So
the thing is like there's also a major problem in having our own space, and the problem is that once you have your own space, there's no need for you to get up. So we constantly make the same mistakes. And since I for myself, like I want to be better, so
That's not fully true.
guy.
With our
You and I have been to Peckham. You and I have been to
Yeah,
Peckham.
but our
This is-
older,
this is-
wait, the older generation, no offense, but that could have happened. But we both know that there was there was a city or like a neighborhood in America, in the United States, I think that was in the 80s, no, 90s, no, 80s, that, was, as they described, more profitable than Wall Street. Because it was booming of businesses, you know, the banks, all of them are real estate owned by black people.
Wow.
Was this me?
I didn't know that.
No, there's
You
lots
know-
of them. Yeah, there's lots of them.
Yeah,
Even
but
even
because
Atlanta
of
itself,
but
Atlanta
because
itself
of
exists.
what's it called? Because of the what I say envious white people that were around the other neighborhood. I think there was one altercation or so. So then they went over and they slayed all of them. They killed all of them, burned everything down, and I think it was even called the Black Wall Street.
Black Wall
check
Street,
it,
yeah.
check it out. Yeah. So you saying that if we all come together, bro, you know, obviously
Do you know why
there will
I'm
be a
saying
lot of parties. There will be
that's not even.
but we will work. Like imagine we live in the same neighborhood.
Yes, but you and I, or people that are here in this area, in this midst, we're different.
That's what I'm saying.
But we are different. But the majority of us is not different because once you are from the same circle, you fall to the same paradigm. Oh, we're Nigerian, oh, everything's cool. We automatically do the same thing. So it's very difficult for us to get outside because you automatically feel comfortable.
But it's tough. It's tough to like. The thing is that we shouldn't look at certain jobs like lower or whatever.
Not lower.
Because all I want to say is like obviously if those people are in the same neighborhood, the ones you are talking about that do less, they do stuff but they do less. They might go for easier jobs, you know, or easier duties. They are per se depending on where you are positioned, they will then work for you. But that's not a problem.
I think it's also easier to give them what they want or what they need when they're gathered in an area. Because, like, for example, let's take again a 10th Street. They can sell kebab anywhere because they're the customers, they're the Turkish, they want it. Like, let's say we have a Nigerian neighborhood. I'm sure we have 2-3 restaurants, we have 2-3 barbers, and these are all businesses collecting money from us.
No, I'm not saying that it won't thrive. It will definitely thrive. But the thing is that for us that we still need to learn from others. And we have not reached the point where we have learned a lot from others. That's why, obviously, people do hate the Chinese.
You heard what he said? He said we should learn from others.
He's
He's the one that recommended that book, The Miseducation of the Negro.
Yeah.
A misconception.
Yeah.
But in that book, he says that the problem is we are still trying to learn from the white. The problem is the white, they keep evolving, and if you want to then reach the level of the white, you will never reach it because they keep evolving.
Yeah,
so that means the
you
more
you said that you want to reach the level. I'm not saying you reach the level.
but
It's
you
like
need to still learn.
Learn from them. It's the same thing as they are doing with us. They are also learning from us, and they are setting our products to us again. So you need to learn from others. The thing is like when you're living in a community, it's very difficult to get out of your community because you're very comfortable. I can only talk for myself. If I was supposed to live in London, fam, I wouldn't have any white friends. Dead serious. So due to the fact of me living in Austria, I was forced to integrate with other people. So I was forced to have like a higher intellectual mindset on cultures. So you would talk to the Albanians, you would talk to the Austrians, you would talk to the Turks, you would talk to the Serbians. So you would pick things from multiple people and from multiple cultures. So that means that I have a higher mindset on like, okay, I can learn from these people. Let's apply it to the African neighborhood. But if I was automatically born into the African system, fam, I would not learn anything because I feel comfortable already. So if you feel comfortable, you cannot grow. Yes. It's because out of discomfort of me hanging out with a lot of white people, I feel discomfort. Seriously, because I constantly see white people, and I do want to see myself in higher positions. Like if everyone says like he wants to be a politician, it gives me joy to be like, okay, I can do the same thing. I may not want to be a politician, but I can be like, okay, I see myself in higher positions. So that already gives me the power to strive for more. So that's why I am also like thinking to myself like we need to learn from them at the same time, but also apply it to ourselves.
What do you say to that?
Wait, because you said something very, very important. You said if you are in a comfortable situation, you don't grow, isn't it?
You can't.
And so I am, for example, I was like always with white people. So this is my comfort zone, isn't it? Mm-hmm. So that means I would grow if I'm with blacks, So you can grow in so many different ways.
Yeah.
There are multiple ways to grow. Even if there were a black community, a huge one, living in the same area, there are so many ways to grow within that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't think I didn't grow because I'm only with white people. Yeah. No. I grew in many different ways. Yeah. You know what I mean? So, and you see there's a lot of potential there. There's Chinatown in New York, and I think they're still growing, mentally. It depends on how we as a community work on it. And I don't think there's good or bad when you have, it depends on the community. It depends what you make out of it. And most of the times it's not planned that Turkish people live in the 10th district. Turkish people moved there because it was cheaper to live there. Yeah. It wasn't like, we want to have a community. So it's most of the times it's just a coincidence that a lot of people with migration background out of Turkey live in socio-economic reasons, live there. So it's something you can't control anyways. You can't say, hey, we have too many. All right, yeah. Move in the 20s. He moved to it doesn't work.
But the thing is, obviously, with the system that we have, you can choose per se where you want to live.
Yeah,
you pick it. So obviously, now with them having that in mind, okay, brother and sister, cousin, uncle, they're in this district, and it's booming. They're having something, and they're telling me maybe if you come over, I can, I can delegate this to you, etc. Mm-hmm. Obviously, I will move there because the benefits, obviously, that I get going there.
But some areas are not, you can't move to the 19th district if you don't have the socio-economic power, to move there. Because 19th district is very expensive.
Yeah, parts of 19th district. Our friend over here is living in the district.
That's what?
First district. He's royalty from Ikiti.
So now, what with your political background that you're coming in, you introduced it already, as you said. How exactly do you see the future? You said that in a decade.
On point.